Hey, we are live. We made it. AnnMarie, it is such a pleasure to see your face, my friend.
Deanna, I'm so happy to be here with you. What a fun way to spend a Friday night.
Right? And we were just talking about it behind the scenes. We were kind of talking about how fun it would be if we had a glass of wine. Neither one of us were smart enough to do that. Although I
Well,
admit,
I hope if folks are watching that they're smart enough to have their glass of wine
yeah.
and
Oh,
just be sitting back and relaxing with us.
right? Please, before you start watching this, go grab your glass of wine, sit down, have a conversation with us for sure. I love it. You know what we can do? I'm just gonna do this real quick. Oh, hi, friends. Great. So if you got your glass of wine, if you did have a glass of wine, AnnMarie, what would you prefer?
Well, you know what? It's about 17 degrees in New York City.
Oh God.
So, I think if I'm always given the choice, I prefer white, but it's a cold night like this, a good
Uh-huh.
glass of red wine would totally hit the spot.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for mulled wine. I'm just gonna heat it up and put some cinnamon in it.
That's a good plan too.
Hey, Sharon. Sharon's in here watching us. Sharon, I'm so glad you're here. I've got my dear friend AnnMarie in. And AnnMarie, I asked you to do this months ago. So sorry that it's taken me so long to get you here with this. But I think what I was most excited to talk to you about was the idea that you are someone who got the idea of creating your own group and you just said, screw it, I'm going to do it on Facebook. And I know I work with a lot of newer coaches, and I think for many people, there's a desire to do it, but they just don't know how, right? It feels like it's an unknown, a black box. Like, how do these things get started? And so instead of talking to someone who's got thousands of followers already, I thought it might be fun to talk to someone who's just in the starting phase of it and what's getting you excited and how you're doing it. So before I get into all that, would you mind just taking a couple of minutes to just share a little bit about who you are and maybe why you wanted to do this?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm AnnMarie Santamaria, and as I mentioned to Deanna, I'm in New York City. Who I am, well, that's the question of the night. I think what you mean more so is,
Nope, I want you to fill that in, AnnMarie. Who are you?
Deanna, that's I am a former IT business owner, so that's part of one of the attributes that describes who I am. I apologize. I'm going to just close this here because there seem to be some notifications coming in behind me. So I had an IT business that I owned and operated for about 20 years, and I sold it in 2018. And when I sold it, I kind of thought about, well, what am I going to do next, and what's out there, and what's of interest to me. And I thought I might want to do some coaching. I've had the very great experience of working with coaches in my own journey. And so I thought that might be something I could benefit from. So I took a course with Journey, which is where we met.
Mm-hmm.
I had the very good fortune of meeting you there. And I took a coaching course there. And I'm not full-time coaching yet. I'm actually still working in the IT world. But the toolkit that I acquired through that experience has just been so good for me in so many ways. And so circling back to who am I am a woman who is just living life and experiencing what life has to offer, and literally remembering that every single day I have something to learn and something new to experience. And so just kind of, taking opportunities like this to speak with a good friend online, which kind of scares the heck out of me a little bit, but I'm here and I'm doing it. And it's really good to see your friendly face while I'm doing it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can imagine, the first time you do it and it can feel so big, but I'm already, you got Sharon, Lisa was here, Gina's here, you got all your friends already chiming in, wanting to let you know that you're loved and you're here, and they're here watching you, supporting you on this. I love that. Thank you so much, AnnMarie, for sharing a little bit about your background and how you got here. And I know you and I have a lot of similarities, and we found that out through conversations. I don't want to spill the tea too much, but I know, like, we both have an IT background, but neither one of us know anything about IT. I mean, we do know about IT, but it's like, Oh, good Lord.
I'm not installing any OSs or well,
Yeah.
troubleshooting audio issues as good as
Yeah.
I could be. So
That's for sure. Yeah. And I think we both found our way into coaching. I think we also met through the Artist Way group. Like we met even further. I led an Artist Way group last year with the Firecracker Department, which we're going to do again in February.
I highly recommend it. So if you
Yes.
haven't gone through it, I'm thinking of maybe doing it again.
What the hell, right? And I think through that, and what I also noticed about you in that group, and just watching you, kind of witness you through that group and how you engage with everyone, you're such a connector. Like you were always the one kind of in private chats or just even in public chats when we were having the class, how are you doing? What's going on? And you would remember things about people maybe from the prior weeks and you'd go in and check with them. And I know lots of people in that group who you didn't know anybody except for maybe.
I did. Exactly.
And which I thought was such a brave thing to do, to come in and do that. And but I think people just fell in love with you. Like your personality is just so warm and charming, and you are so gracious about wanting to make sure everyone felt included in this world that you were potentially the outsider in the beginning, which was so wonderful. So with that, tell me about this group you created. Maybe we can go to the very core of it. Why did you want to create this group in the first place?
So first of all, I want to thank you for what you just said, because that was very sweet. And that was really, it's not lost on me how each of these individual experiences, kind of when you go into something for the first time, how scary it feels.
Right.
And I think about my first day at Journey, and I remember, the night before classes were starting, part of the Journey experience is that there's a Facebook group, a private Facebook group, that you introduce yourself. And I remember saying to my husband, what have I done? Like, how am I going to, who are these people? How am I going to fit in? And, and just kind of showing up on it was a Zoom was probably my first real like Zoom experience, talking about a little over a year and a half ago. So Zoom wasn't, it is, now we're all Zoom. We just do Zoom, every minute, every day almost, right? So just that reminder that, even when something feels really scary, it's the most scary at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Right. That's probably the scariest it's going to be in the whole experience of that, moment.
Yeah.
So when I finished with the coaching class, because I have this, persona kind of an IT business, and I wasn't really working for myself anymore. I'm still not. I was a little reluctant to just put that part of what I'm doing out like on my like public social media, if you will. It just felt like I wasn't ready to do that just yet. And so I'd been thinking about, well, I'll just create a private Facebook group, with people that I know and trust, where I can start to share this part of my journey in a safe place for myself. And last summer, it was probably like in August, Journey had a summer challenge. And I think like the first, second, third, it was very early on. One of them was, post a live video. And then the next one was do something to move you forward. And I said, I'm going to create that Facebook group.
Yeah.
Right. And I posted the challenge in the Journey group. So my friends and my cohort were like, just do it. What are you waiting for? Just do it. So I literally just did it. It was like probably 1 a.m. on a Tuesday night in the summer. And I said, all right, I'm going to create the group. And I had never even really done that. Maybe I had for like a small something. And then I started inviting people. And then people started showing up. And that's kind of how it started, to answer your question.
I love it. And it's called The Art of You. What was behind that for you?
So, for any coaches that are on here, as part of your coaching journey, figuring out your why, I kind of felt like, and I still feel a little bit, I know what my why is, but I don't know specifically what I want to coach on. Like, I almost don't want to limit myself to sort of it's going to be in this box type of thing.
Yeah.
But a big part of the journey for me has been about getting to know myself better. Right. And not only knowing myself better, but embracing myself for all that I am. So kind of back to that, well, who am I question, right? And so the art of being you is about, your state of being. And Deanna, I know I've heard you say more than once, and definitely within the artist way, who do you want to be in this world?
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's really sat with me. And I take that into measure when I'm thinking about things I might want to do or impact that I feel that I can drive in some way. So that's how I came up with the art of being you.
That's great. Yeah, I think I'm still, this over the last couple of months, I've been doing an even deeper dive, working on something called the Life Book. And it takes a look at 12 different areas of your life and really take a deep dive into creating who you want to be. And I still feel like that is our lifelong journey to figure that out. I mean, just when you think you figured out, there's just vast areas that we still have yet to discover about ourselves. And for me personally, I hope I never find out. I hope I'm always like searching and finding out more about myself. So I love that art of you. And I think in that group, what I'm also so amazed by what you're doing in that group, because I have a group, it's died off. For me, it's tough what I'm witnessing you do. So this is why I wanted to talk to you about this, because you're really posting every single day, but not scheduling your posts. You are literally posting every day. So I wanted to talk to you about what's your inspiration, where are you getting it, how are you doing this, how are you finding the time?
So I definitely don't schedule it, and partially because I don't know that I'm that technologically versed. And yes, I do work in IT.
I can give you a 5-minute lesson.
I get the irony of that. But I think it's more because I want it to be timely and relevant. And so the interesting thing is, for me, it's become part of my own self-care practice. So it's a way for me to, if I haven't gotten to journaling or haven't gotten to something else, and I know this about myself, I tend to do more for others than for myself. So just in the simple vein of that, if I know, like, I don't want to let the community down, like people will post and say, I love your positive posts. I look for them every day. And so it's like, I would disappoint myself before I would disappoint the community. But by giving to the community, I'm totally giving to myself. So it's really it's not a burden in any way.
Yeah, that's great.
Sorry.
Where are you getting your inspiration? Because you're really posting, it feels like quite different things on a regular basis.
It is definitely different. So a lot of it is self-driven. So it's kind of fueled by something specific that happens in my own life. And so, I try really hard to kind of keep it so that I can share a personal experience, but it's tied to, for those who are not in the group or not familiar with it, so far, a lot of my posts are quotes of other people, but then I'll tie it in with a story of my own experience and my own background. So, and that's been, and I guess I also see, like, sometimes I don't have anything and I'm like, what do I want to talk about today? And then I'll see a post from somebody else and I'll share it. And if I know they're in the group, I'll give them credit. So like, I'll be like, oh, so-and-so posted this on their page. And now I've got a few really key people in the group that they'll find quotes and kind of message me and say, hey, I've got this great post for today. Would you mind? And we did this thing. It was probably back in maybe October where we had, different members take the page over for a day. So they led the discussion and that was super fun. We're definitely going to do that again, here in 2021.
I love it. What do you think that for you, and I heard you talk about your own, that your own self-care, and I wonder if we have any members here that would share, but what would you hope your group members get out of it?
Oh, lots of things. So I hope they get connection. And I know from some stories that I've heard that some people have connected. I hope that they get some sort of inspiration, motivation, just a space that they could come to, and a few people have said to me, even if I just get a couple of minutes a day and I'm trying to avoid social media, I'll go into the group because that's my me time. And that to me feels like such a gift.
Yeah.
That, this is their me time, like they're spending their time for themselves in the group and catching up and, just reading the quotes and the comments. It's a pretty active group, people are commenting. And I try not to take it personally when there aren't a lot of comments because I know people are busy.
I know.
So, just remembering that the space is there ready for when people have the time to consume it.
Well, thank you for bringing that up because I think that is something for anyone, especially new coaches who are, wanting to start their own group. Our own little egos get in the way, right? About what is or isn't happening in this group. Share with me what has been, if you have any lessons that's come out of this for you in doing this for yourself or for the group. Is there any lesson that's come out?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think with everything we do, we learn, we kind of going through the experience gives us the opportunity to experience it so that we can
Mhm.
reflect back on it, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely realize it's not all about me. It's probably very little about me, and that's a good thing. I don't mean that in a
Yeah,
bad
yeah,
way.
yeah.
So the biggest takeaway I think for me has been to just not have any expectations and not assume that because something happened in a way that I thought it shouldn't have or didn't happen in a way that I thought it should have, that it really has anything to do with me.
Mhm.
Now, that being said, I do pay attention to the vibe. I do ask for feedback. I do ask people, especially those who are pretty active.
Mhm.
I want to give them the space to, ask for what they need and, tell me if something isn't, really vibing with them and why. And I've had offline, people have given me feedback on both. So that's been really helpful as well.
Well, I have to say, I think that also reflects on you as a leader, first of all, for being willing to ask for feedback. I think that's just one of the biggest strengths any leader will have. And not only to ask, but then to do something with it, right? If there is a modification or just even be willing to hear it is such a great, great place of leadership, which doesn't
Thank
surprise
you.
me as someone who has had her own company. Um, what do you have a vision for this group? Do you imagine it growing? What or I see your shoulders and you're like, I don't know, Deanna, I just want to do it.
Well, no, I do. I do. I mean, so community's been a big part of my life on the professional side.
Mhm.
When I started my own journey with coaching and and working with a coach through my own growth,
Mhm.
I realized that one of the things that I was lacking was a community around wellness for myself.
Mhm.
And I got that through Journey, but that's also a teaching experience, right? And Noel and John do an amazing job with the community that they've built there, and it's just incredible. Um, my initial vision was to maybe provide an opportunity for people who don't have access, to either coaching or even really familiar with what that is, or maybe have a thought about what they think it is, just to kind of, create a space where I could start to, again, share my own experiences and how it's influenced me in a positive way. The other thing I'll say is that, one of the things we've done is we do some like Zoom lives, Facebook lives. So I've brought in some of my colleagues, some of my friends. I'm hoping you'll come on there with me soon and talk about confidence or whatever. I know you've got
Mhm.
lots of great topics that we can talk, to together. But we've done some, lives where we bring, people who are interested in. Some of the folks in the group have never meditated. So I brought on a friend who, did a guided meditation and talked about chakras and meditation. And so, right now, the vision is to provide access and information for all the members, regardless of what level that they're at, right? And there are some coaches in the group. So I don't really feel like I want to limit it to this is a group for coaches or this is a group for non-coaches, those types of things. I think long term, I mean, I have lots of visions. I don't think we have that much time tonight, Deanna, but
Give
um,
one you're willing to share.
so I'm a big vision board person.
Mhm.
You know that about me.
Mhm.
And I see a little subset of the community maybe becoming like a vision board group, like people who want to work on their vision and maybe cultivate their vision a little bit more. So that may be a group that grows out of the group. And just to do a deeper dive around different types of topics.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like, the firecracker department, I think is such a great model of that, of having little subgroups in it, and it's grown. So I think that's just a wonderful thing for you to kind of have this big community and then just little separate rooms or separate hallways for people to go into. It's a great idea, AnnMarie. And Gina says that AnnMarie has shown leadership qualities since we met in the 7th grade. Okay, you've got some old time friends, long held friends, not old, long held friends. Yeah. So she says the group has helped her take the time to self-reflect and be more present. That's awesome, Gina. Thanks so much for sharing that.
Thank you, Gina. I'm so glad you're here.
Yes. Hey, I don't know if there's anyone out there who has any questions. If you're interested in starting a group, how AnnMarie did this, pop those in the chat box. We're here. We can see those. AnnMarie, if you were to give any thoughts or advice to someone who is interested in starting a group, what would that be from your perspective?
So the one thing that for me has been really precious and priceless is this is not a marketing tool for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that people may potentially start with good intentions and then find themselves kind of marketing within a group. And I've been really cautious to not make that be what this group is about. So it's for me, it's truly about community. And there are opportunities arising from it in many different ways. But I didn't create the group with that intention at all.
Yeah.
So I would just caution, I would really, if a group is what you want, I guess I would encourage you to think about really what's the experience you're looking to create for yourself and for your members.
Mm. Yeah, that whole adage of just serve, just the community is there. And, if you continue to serve it well, they'll start serving each other. It just creates this wonderful cycle of up-leveling the emotions. You know that I'm speaking to the choir, but I feel like there's something in that, the idea of just showing up. And I know your heart is showing up every day. I mean, you create graphics, you put, the content out, and I still go back to the idea that you're not scheduling it. And it's a really daily ritual for you just to kind of really figure out what it is for you. And that day is something really special.
I don't create all the graphics. So some of the quotes I just find, but I make sure that they're attributed to, who said the quote. So there's no,
well,
yeah.
All right.
But I did create a calendar, a self-care calendar. And here's a little sneak preview for anybody who's here. There might be a self-love calendar coming up for February.
Ooh, okay. I love it.
You heard it here, folks.
She's giving the tea right now. Yeah, and Sharon, I love it. Sharon Calderon says there are many other ways to market. It's important to keep the space sacred. So I think your group members are really appreciative of what you're doing in that group. And then can you, and I always find there's always wisdom in the group too, right? As you're saying, to bring outsiders in, but I bet you even within the group, there is just wisdom within the group to share with each other about everything. Everyone has something, I think, that's important to share.
Oh, completely. And I mean, this group has a heartbeat of its own. Like it's not, I may be leading it, right? I may have been the one that created it, but the oxygen that's flowing through the group, that's being, breathed in by all of the members every day. And that's what keeps me coming back. And I know for some that are in the group, them as well. Like it's just, it's really nice to be able to connect and know we're going to see each other on that level. Just to, and sometimes something doesn't resonate, you pass by it, it's no big deal. You come back a few days later when it's something that does resonate.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Is this a group that's open, or how does people, I mean, I you're keeping a very secret group. We've been talking about it, and I don't want to promote something that you're like.
No, we do. So it is by invite, but like members can invite their friends. So like Deanna, if anybody in your group wanted to join, you can invite them. It's, I don't know if you can find it by looking on Facebook, if it's called The Art of Being You. But I know that there are, as a matter of fact, that's one of the exciting things that's happened is that several of the members have invited people from their friend circles into the group, which is
Yeah.
really so fabulous.
It is, right? Because I think that shows that they're getting something out of it, right? If I'm not getting anything out of it, I'm certainly not going to tell my friends to come join it. So
Right.
that I hope you are taking that in, and is a real reflection of what you're creating to say this is a good spot to hang in with, especially when there's so much other garbage that's out there, right? And angst. I think what you are purposely creating in that space is a really heart-led and a loving space, a caring space, and a compassionate space for all those who want to be in there. I love it.
Absolutely.
Well, AnnMarie, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to have this conversation with me. I hope it just continues to grow at the pace that you want it to grow, whatever that means. I want to thank all of those. I think they're real fans of yours who stopped by and watched from beginning to end on as well. AnnMarie, you are a well-loved person in your world, and I wanted to make sure that it was fun for me to witness you growing this and talking to someone who's in the beginning stages, as I think many people really struggle with in that area, and to make it as fun as possible as you can on the journey. Yeah. I love it. Thanks, Sharon. Sharon, I'm so glad you were here. Really, thanks for stopping in. AnnMarie, hang on with me. I'm going to end this for everyone. Hey, thanks for stopping by. This is Moffitt Talks. I've had AnnMarie Santamaria. Help me out with this one, on the call and talking about her group. It's a pleasure. Hi, Linda. Thanks for stopping. Oh, my friend Linda stopped by. That's great. So we're going to end this live stream. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you, Deanna.